Hey, it's Weebs, and welcome to the first edition of Anitube Digest of 2020, where we go over the best and not so best anime YouTube videos to come out this week, from the 1st to the 7th. Almost. There was a lot of videos this week that I could have covered and stuff, so I apologize if I don't talk about yours. But we'll first talk about the videos that I thought were not good. No. CinemaSins, technically not CinemaSins, of TVSins. They did an episode on My Hero Academia, and in particular, the episode in the middle of season 2 where Deku fights Todoroki, and I guess he really was just plopped in the middle of it because he read somewhere that this is one of the higher rated episodes of the show, so he just decided to start with this episode. There is an Anime Sins and an Anime Wins channel. I don't usually cover it because it's kind of like, whatever. But it is fairly significant to do it if you're talking specifically about Jeremy, I believe that's his name, who, the actual CinemaSins guy, doing this and making a complete fool of himself. I was subscribed to CinemaSins for a long time when I was a naive fool. I unsubscribed. And I've been watching their videos, and then I saw Jeff tweet, they made it. Guys, look! CinemaSins is reviewing anime now, and like as a bad thing. So like we're all on the same page, but he's calling attention to it. So it's like, great, you're gonna give this guy attention now? This video clearly doesn't seem to have as many views as his normal CinemaSins videos, because it's not on that channel. So I don't really know what he's doing this for. Does he think this will get views or something? I made a list of things he made fun of in this video, because it's just a CinemaSins video. You kind of know what to expect from them at this point. But they've gotten progressively worse, because he's trying harder and harder to be funny, and failing harder and harder to be funny. He makes fun of characters having internal thoughts more than twice, I would say. I know at least twice, and then there may have been one or two more times. It's like, this fight's taking too long. Just fight. There's so many. There's like, he complained about that like 6 times. Like, shut up, dude. He comments that Deku is not blinking for one of these shots in the OP, and thinks it's funny to point that out. Do you know how fucking OPs work, dude? This isn't footage of the show, technically. Like, they're gonna do whatever they fucking want. But it's such a pedantic thing to complain about, especially since he actually does show later in the OP, like, a shot afterwards, other characters, it's that OP where they're all stretching and stuff, there are other characters blinking in that footage. So he's making fun of one character not blinking in one shot, and then proceeds to show the other clips with other characters doing that. Really? Of course, he makes fun of Deku not having a nose in one shot of the OP, unless you clearly look at the rest of the show, and they all have noses. This isn't fucking Metabots or something. He makes fun of background characters in like the crowd and like that audience, like 3 separate times. He thinks it's funny in every time, and it's not. He makes fun of like one character having like fat lips or something, another one looking like Captain America, and then, like, this character was Seth Meyers or something like that. And it's like, what am I watching? Like, this isn't fun. This isn't funny. This is really weird and dumb. He questions why people like this show unironically when Kirishima says at one point, in your dreams, he's watching the dub, by the way. Not to diss on the dub, but just a terrible fucking statement. Like, why make this whole generalized statement like, wow, people really like this show, when this one character says this one thing one time. It's not like he says in your dreams as a catchphrase or something. Like, what are you doing? He says this show Last Airbender so hard because it has Todoroki in it. He makes this really insulting comment at one point. There's a shot where Deku is like kind of stumbling, running towards Todoroki, and it's supposed to be kind of important and, dramatic or whatever. And he just goes, derpy derp, 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 like kind of making fun of the running, I guess. And then dings it as a sin, goes to the next shot, And then it says, "Sing it with me, kids. Derpy derp." Like, does the same crappy joke twice in a row. It's baffling. I don't know what the fuck happened to this guy. And the worst part, of course, the cherry on top, he does say at one point, "The fucking fans wanted me to sin this show, and I should have said no." This is exactly what I mean with content creators making videos that they aren't actually passionate about, and they're just doing it because their fans wanted them to. Or they actively see it's a bad idea, and then they vocalize that they're doing it anyway. Like, they make it part of their video because they think it's like a lampshading thing, like it's funny. It's not. It's incredibly transparent in a bad way. Like, there's things you don't want to show off in your video because I think it can encapsulate your entire ethos. Because it's like, you're making this video for this reason. What's to say you aren't making these other videos for the exact same reason? And then it's like, what are you making content for? Am I really trying to hear your perspective and gain a better understanding of the world or this piece of media? No, not really. You're just making fun of it. And I know it's very easy to clown CinemaSins at this point because I think everyone has become a little self-aware of this unironic nitpicking. And so I'm just kind of preaching to the choir at this point. But I just thought it was such a hilarious fall in your face moment of making an entire video shitting on a random episode of an anime without any prior context or willingness to understand the material or what you're watching. Like, he complains so much about, like, he would not like any other shonen anime if this is the kind of complaints he's making. Like, everyone else has this as, like, very established fact, and people don't have to like it, for sure. But it's like, understand the appeal of this and everything. I don't know. It's just a waste of fucking time. And why am I talking about it? Well, I think it's hilarious. Bad move. Not good. And the other video that I pretty much thought was not good, kind of for similar reasons, Mother's Basement, top 5 worst anime of 2019. This is... I really should have known. I don't know what I 40 fucking minutes of shitting on 5 shows nobody gives a fuck about. Like, if you was saying something about Shield Hero that, like, people have contention with and people actually do like, and there's some, like, contention there, that'd be one thing. At least he's, like, sticking himself out and really trying to say something. Maybe he's really trying to contribute to the conversation. But what does making fun of this mermaid slice of life anime have anything to do? Like, what is that gain? What do we take away? Like, oh, I shouldn't watch that. No one was. Nobody was. He does kind of a similar thing with the CinemaSins video, where at the very beginning he says, you know, last year I did this video and it put me through a lot of suffering because I had to think about media I didn't like, and then it got a lot of views, so I guess I'm doing this forever now. Cool, yay. So you're only doing this because it gets a lot of views. Come on, Jeff, you're better than this. A lot of the value that Jeff, I think, sees in the video like this is him roasting these videos. And I imagine roasting has to do with being funny. But Jeff isn't actually that good at being funny, in my opinion. I mean, some people might find him funny if they get the similar sense of humor as him, I guess. But he's not as funny as he is smart and insightful and able to extract a lot of information from little details. That's what made his What's in an OP series so iconic and, like, actually catapulted him to the status that he is now. Because he found a format that plays to his strengths. But he's using his strengths in this context for something completely innocuous and not additive. Like, if he was saying something insightful about these 5 shows that, like, anime shouldn't do, whatever, like how I'm talking about this not good, how I justify this not good portion, that would be one thing. But he doesn't do that. He just keeps roasting and having these little rants about this show that only he's seen, you know? Because, like, nobody who's watched this video, who would be willing to watch this video, has probably seen the show that he's talking about. Like, these are Like, did you know about this Bishonen anime about rugby that came out this year? I sure didn't. And he's like poking fun at this one scene in this one episode, or a certain line or whatever, and ranting about it. And it kind of is written in a way that only people who've suffered through it would understand it. And that's not additive for people who don't know what you're talking about. Like, the majority of your audience, I would imagine, has not watched what you've watched. I've been having sort of a similar experience the past couple of days, finishing up these shows that I'm catching up on. I finished Review Starlight, and I did not like it. I could make a video of how much I didn't like it, and all the problems I had with it. But what would that add? Like, there's people who, first of all, WatTheWut already made that video. But second of all, I know people who love this show and have seen value in it. And I don't see the point in wasting my entire, so much of my effort and time writing about what I had wrong with the show. I'm not looking to change outside perspectives. Maybe it would be cathartic for me, but that's for me. You're making videos for other people. Like, it's possible to make videos for yourself as well as for a wider audience that might enjoy them. I think that's very fundamentally basic bitch YouTube. But I don't see this, besides the whole it gets a lot of views, so whatever, I don't see this as ultimately that valuable, because you're just ranting about this one episode and the whatever, and maybe voicing your personal grievances and everything, but like, it's cathartic for you, but it sure isn't for anyone else. Because again, you're not talking about these bigger shows that everyone else watched. Like, if you were like Anime Snob or something, right? You'd go hot on these other shows, like, this show's actually bad or whatever. But you're not going to do that. I think you chose these 5 shows. You might deny this, but I feel like you chose shows not only that you could say something about, but also that nobody would throw back at you. Like, nobody's going to defend this Mermaid Slice of Life show. No one's going to defend WatTheWut or whatever, like the sequel to Handshakers. They're easy targets. And it's very obviously easy targets. So I'm not going to go on and defend these shows, but I'm going to see that, you're not taking this in good faith, in my opinion. So I don't know. It's not that additive to me. I found it really unpleasant, especially for being 40 fucking minutes. Like, you could have think of all the episodes you watched of these bad shows. Like, you mentioned, you have other honorable mentions of other bad shows that you watched this year. It's like, why didn't you watch other shows that you would have liked? Like, you could actually like get a better understanding of anime as a whole if you watch these classics, if you watch these underrated things that people in the underground are saying are good. Please watch them. Like, think of how many of these people, like, think of all these other shows that are not getting the representation they deserve and are deserving of it. And yet you're spending that time on bullshit, on giving these shows a platform because you think it'd be funny. It wasn't funny. It was so worthless, in my opinion. Just, it was really disappointing to see, because, like, you get it. I get that. I know that Jeff understands the power of classic anime and the industry as a whole. Oh my gosh. So there's at least 2 moments where he makes the comment how the anime looks bad, and he conjectures that it's probably because the animators didn't give enough of a shit, because they're not being paid enough. As if to make some sort of smart observation of the shitty conditions of the anime industry. We all know that, but you realize it's shitty across almost the entire board, right? There are shows that you love and look really good, and you're not going to mention how terribly the animators were paid or treated, because it looks good. They must have cared a lot. But, like, because the show looks bad, they must not have been paid well. They're probably not being paid. Well, that's not the point. You're justifying it and, like, shoehorning this agenda of, like, oh, look, I'm a woke anime fan that knows the terrible conditions of the anime industry. Fuck off. And also fuck off. At the end, if you made it to the end of this video, I think the reason he seems to extrapolate of why that isekai where 7 smart people, like 7 talented youths or whatever, get transported, whatever, that's his worst of 2019. All right. At the end, it's something. It veers into political, like his problems with capitalism, and like is like this character is like Pete Buttigieg doing this thing, and becomes really political. And he's like, I don't think this anime would be better if it had Bernie Sanders in it. And then he's like, actually, I do think it would be better with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders should be in everything. And it became like a political statement for endorsement for Bernie Sanders. And I'm like, dude, you're fucking Canadian. What are you doing? Yeah, that was really weird. No, not good. All right, now for the videos that I thought were decent. Pretty okay. And to start, let's talk about a new anime YouTuber. Their first video that they dropped this week, Seeing Myself in Magical Girl Sight by Always Lethargic, or Leth, as they're going by their YouTube name. This is their first video, and it's a first for me to talk about creators' first video. So I'll go with pretty fairness, because like I could take apart Jeff and CinemaSins because they're doing this for years, lots of videos. But as a first, it's like you gotta be fair to the guy, but like I'll be honest too, and I liked it, and I thought it was pretty decent. So this is them Leth talking about kind of the hatred that Magical Girl Sight got, and hatred, vitriolic. And I remember that, especially when it was coming out the first week and everything, in that seasonal splurge, Magical Girl Sight was brought up a lot as the super edgiest of edgy, and very vague statements and everything, generalizations, and then everyone moved on. And Leth here actually gave the show a 10 out of 10. It was his favorite anime of 2018, and genuinely really enjoyed it a lot. Mainly because they saw themselves as the main character, who was shown in the first episode in particular as being very bullied and mistreated and not given the help that they should have gotten. But over the course of the series, they do find the help, and they find friends and a support group, and she becomes a better person. It even makes a really interesting observation of how everyone complains how the main girl in Magical Girl Sight had no personality. And Leth kind of makes the suggestion, maybe she doesn't have a personality because it's been beaten out of her. Like, she physically can't show any emotion because these bullies will pick it apart. So she's retreated back into herself. So her entire being seems numb and lifeless, because it is lifeless. And it's like, well, that makes sense. I don't know if that necessarily leads to enjoyment for me personally. But I do agree that a lot of people over-exaggerated it and was like, this is just whatever. He cites a particular Anime News Network early preview guide, which I've stopped reading at this point. I understand kind of the vapidness and kind of like this isn't really worth it. They're wrong on so many shows. Like they call it the beginning. I remember reading Konosuba's entry and then them not liking it. Like most people were like really harsh on it, and then it became like it is super popular, most popular thing of that season, and then they kind of turn around like, oh, actually. So that that's just the problem with first impressions, in my opinion. But yeah, they were too harsh on it for sure. And I really appreciate Leth sticking up with the show unironically and not like in an ironic sense. People are mentioning the mic quality isn't all that great, and I didn't have much of a problem with it, to be honest. And your delivery seems pretty decent too. I'm looking forward to more what you can do. And you kind of know, like, this is a blogger kind of started dipping their toes into the video section. And I think it benefited it a lot. I would imagine if this was a blog, I wouldn't have gotten that sincerity from you. I wouldn't have had that conveyed to me nearly as well, personally. Video-wise, it's very standard, just clips or whatever. Very simple. Although the clips, there's some moments, very easy mistake, don't worry. All of us do this. Putting a clip in, inserting a clip, and then there's like a frame or two at the beginning that is left over from the previous scene, so it flashes really quick. And, people, who've edited videos and stuff can probably catch that, but maybe you didn't, I don't know. It doesn't take away from the video that much, but I think it would help with more polish. Just another export. If you like, you look at the first draft and you're like, oh, there's something I have to tweak there a little bit, and then just re-export it, and it's fine. But just something to add on to that. And I would encourage you to, see what else you can have fun with, experiment with video, because video can really add to the experience. You chose pretty good clips here. And so I think you're decent at clip selection. You knew the show fairly well, so that shows competence, and so it doesn't feel like the video fades into the background. So, I encourage you to expand more with that and see what you can do. Yeah. Oh, one thing more. This is like a 10 out of 10, and I don't know how often you give out 10s, but that's a big deal for some of us, right? So I would imagine I would have wanted an explanation more into what's so great about it. I didn't get an impression. I have not seen the show, so I did not get an impression of what the overall narrative is, of kind of like her arc, of what it goes through. Like, how does she meet this character? And you just kind of vaguely describe that she meets all these friends and gains a support group and gains her emotions back, and that's really cool. But I have maybe you're just, avoiding spoilers or whatever. You don't really say that, but I would have appreciated something where you talk about the end of the show of like, where does it end up? Is it fully unwrapped? Has she got rid of all the bullies? She completed her arc. What's her completion, in my opinion? I would have liked that. I would have liked more of a concrete reason of why you love this show so much and why it's a 10 out of 10. I do think you were mainly making this video as a defense video, defending mainly episode 1. And it was good for that reason, for sure. But I think just my curiosity has gotten to me where because you contrasted it, you were like, well, I thought it was a 10 out of 10, my favorite show of the year. And that's it's a big statement. Like, it's great. And that catches my ear. So then I'm wondering, what was so great about this show? And I don't think that was fully communicated. I think it's mostly a defense of this show, for sure. And 10s can be completely personal, whereas like, I saw myself and I love that. That's all the 10 that it is, and that's the whole thing. So that's fair if that's the case. I didn't fully get that from my watching of it, but that's okay. But that's just an observation. So I mean, as a first video, this is pretty decent. So I'm looking forward to what more you can do, and welcome to the jungle. Speaking of the jungle, your rival, WatTheWut. I guess he blocked you on Twitter. I don't know, because he's very. That's a whole thing. I will shelve that. He put out an update video. Why am I still a YouTuber? Which is kind of seems to be branded as kind of an I don't like Anitube sequel, which I did say was one of the best Anitube videos that came out last year. And I appreciate the shout out that you put in this video of me saying that, because I mean, you got wide praise for it, rightly so. But this is mostly a kind of an aftermath and a kind of almost behind the scenes where you describe how I made that video in 2 days and I didn't expect that support. I'm like, mm-hmm. All right. Yeah, okay. I when I hear that, I usually go like, yeah, you're embellishing this a little bit. You knew what you were doing. But good for you, man. And I'm really happy with the success you had. And WatTheWut goes through his whole, like, not the entire thing, but kind of generally of the aftermath of what happened since then, and got to go to AX and talk to these guys, and making some videos, and sort of what happened with his previous drama stuff, including BSA, which he advocates in Anitube, but then denounces in this video. But then promotes his other podcast with Kraftwerk and Vindy? I'm sorry if I butchered that name. I think it's Vindy. Which I should watch, but is that still a thing? Were you being serious about the announcing of it? Like, very shortly after this video came out, you were having a bunch of drama, like, I hate these people. And I'm like, are you just showboating now? Like, are you being real right now? I hope not, because that's sad. That would suck. So, I wanted to mention it as being a significant update video to a pretty significant video overall from a fairly active member right now. So I wanted to include it. Although it's largely still it's just more insight into what WatTheWut is thinking. And trust me, honestly, that is very valuable to me. Because I'm always curious, like, what is this man up to? Because you say such very valid and insightful things. And I want to listen to you more. I would think other people feel the same way. But I think there is sort of a concern for some of your friends and fans of sorts, where you have these emotional swings of like, fuck these people, or having a severe problem with X, Y, and Z. Always interesting. Always interesting to see where you're coming from. And I look forward to what you bring in 2020. Hopefully it's some nice content. Oh my gosh, Manime Matt's back in the decent category. Look, this could have been a not good video. But in all honesty, he doesn't say anything that bad. But I did want to mention it very quickly because it's just it's so funny. Egg on your face, because he made 6 videos, like 5 or 6 videos of why Black Clover sucks. And then makes this like, actually, episode 92, it's actually really great. And it's great the whole rest of the way. Oh, who would have thought? And it's like, this is what I mean, dude. This is what I say when, this is my personal philosophy of not dropping anything once I start it. I'll just choose not to watch it at all. I'll make that choice, and I'll take that L if it's bad. If it turns out to be good, I'll take that L. Maybe I'll watch it later. Or I make the decision, I take the risk. Maybe it never gets good. But I have a insightful, full understanding of the show. I don't care if you've seen 50 episodes of Black Clover and dropped it and you can say that you have a full understanding of Black Clover. You fucking don't. I'm sorry. I'm subtweeting someone right now. I'm sorry. But no one, I'm sorry. It's not going to happen. I don't agree. But it's just so funny that Manime Matt actually watched all of is caught up with Black Clover, despite saying it sucks so much. Oh my god. It's so funny. But it's not in the not good category because he's taken the L. I guess he alludes to it in this video that he said in one of these sucks videos, if it turns out to be good, I'll eat my hat. Or kind of like, I'll make an update video and actually talk about it. And then this video comes and he's walking back a lot of statements where he's like, it's mediocre. The first chunk, it's not bad. It's mediocre. It's like, okay. As a Black Clover fan, the salt is delicious, dude. But yeah, it was really funny. But I'm happy he made it. And this is why I thought it was a decent video, because it's like, he's willing to learn and admit things. But hey, that's cool. Maybe he'll make a actually manga's not that bad video. That'd be cool. Let's talk about another channel that put out their first video. I had two channels that had their first video. And of course, that's something worth talking about. So I'm talking about Lowkey Weebs' first video, Fooly Cooly Lowkey Classic. Pretty baity title. I think everyone who's seen Fooly Cooly and knows okay. Shut up. But they don't necessarily take that argument. It's pretty much clickbait. But it's a first video, and I really enjoyed it. They have this, they kind of front load the video edit, effect, fun stuff. They have a nice retro TV and a bunch of different clips, and then they kind of did a nice little fade, little nice technical, ooh. But then the rest of it's pretty standard clips. I'm like, okay. But pretty decent, and I liked the narration. It didn't seem like someone who is doing this for the first time. It didn't have that quality at all. Actually, it was halfway through this video that I was like, what else have they made? Oh, it's their first! Fuck! I had no idea. So that's a good compliment. You have very kudos to you. This is a duo, actually. Believe it's a Dandy something. It's Star Dandy. I'm sorry. I followed you on Twitter. He's the writer and voice of this, and then his friend, I also forgot his name. I'm so bad. I'm sorry. They're the one editing it. So that's why they have at the end it means a lot to us. And I watched it without knowing the creators and stuff. without reading the description, whatever. And it's like, it really means a lot to us. I was like, there's more than one? What? But, you know, no harm, no foul. Just funny. But yeah, with the Lowkey Classic thing, I think it was a little weird. Because it's like, what audience are you throwing this to? Because you kind of name drop some shows here and there. Like you say at one point that this visual style or some idiosyncratic thing that Fully Cooley does, it's a lot of things, whatever it does, reminds you of Paranoia Agent. And you just kind of throw that name out. You don't show any visual, you don't show anything from it, but you just kind of name drop it. Me and other people who are this deep in, who are watching this video, most likely, know what Paranoia Agent is. So you're okay with that. But just realize that, like, you're calling this a Lowkey Classic, and it's sort of like a, I don't know, you were introducing Fully Cooley to someone who had never seen the show before, which was refreshing, to be honest, actually. Because I don't know, I think everyone kind of takes it too much for granted at this point. But you have a really nice narration of the main character, introducing the main character. You may have seen this character in lo-fi, depressing, whatever, and it kind of giving him sort of a mainstream perspective at it, right? Throwing at it that way. And it's like, this is Naota. He's this. He used to be us. And then describing the setting very, very well. And a little bit of the plot. And, you know, kind of like a Mao review a little bit, but it didn't feel like a Mao review, which was nice. And it was really nice. And I liked it a lot. But yeah, new channel. Subscribe to them. They just started. And I hope you're taking this I don't know if you see this feedback, whatever. But it was cool. Nice job. Oh, you may as well tell them that you got them from me. You heard them from me. Maybe then they'll see it and be like, wow, thanks. I don't know. You don't have to. And let's talk about the best videos of the week. Almost. First, I'm going to give a special shout out to Stevem for not just this video, Metropolis, which I very much loved as a fan of Metropolis. And somehow this is a divisive movie. Like, there's people that, like, you love it and you get it, or you don't get it and they think it's vapid or style over substance. Or there's people who don't like this movie, and it's really upsetting to me. But yeah, you kind of take it from a defense of to those people, where you're like, no, there's more going on here than you realize, and then you really dig into it. It wasn't one of your it wasn't like the rest of the Madhouse Month videos, which I believe pretty much all of them were off script. But I wanted to mention, I think I mentioned in a comment, whatever. You're pretty good at not script, you know, or maybe you just wrote notes in that way and you were able to polish it a little bit, and it wasn't like live or anything like that. But the format you did, it was pretty comfy, to be honest. I'm sorry I didn't take up my promise to watch all of the movies you mentioned. I definitely will, and then comment accordingly to your videos in retrospect. But you'll understand I was a little busy with my own things. But I really enjoy the videos that I did watch of that month, whichever. I kind of watched them here and there. And then I really liked the Metropolis video. So very good. So this is the best of more of just the fact that the whole accomplishment of talking about all of these movies for the entire month. Yeah. Good video. Cartoon Cipher. Is the Dr. Stone dub bad? But the bad part, I'll spoil it for you, is a reference to the dub, which they make a lot of really good points, where, like, this one character in I've not seen Dr. Stone, but they articulate a lot of the situations happening when it comes to the dialogue and the actual script, and what it takes to translate that, all the challenges that come with that. They talk about this one character who has a habitual catchphrase, yabe, and he uses it in all sorts of ways. So it's like, how do you articulate that in English? Because the Crunchyroll subs, which I think is a fair measurement because everyone uses the Crunchyroll subs. I hesitated because I remember having a problem with explanation points specifically using the Crunchyroll subs because they're not that accurate. Oh, who would have thought? Because yeah, like these particular Crunchyroll subs, because they were simulcast and put out really quickly, they didn't catch, or I guess fully realize, that this character uses the same phrase over and over. So they don't use the same word in their translation. So you would never know, as someone who doesn't process Japanese, of them saying the same thing. Same thing with a character who speaks a kind of a Japanese form of Pig Latin. they don't translate that in the Crunchyroll sub, as far as I can tell. That was what it seemed to be. But then they talk about how the dub actually went through with that, and they have the characters speak Pig Latin. And it just shows that a lot of all these decisions, that there's a careful attention to detail, even for shows that are being simuldubbed. Although, apparently they didn't catch the Pig Latin when they initially broadcast it, but then it's going on Toonami, so there was kind of a delay there, so they're like, okay, real quick, let's re-record this one line, because we now realize this character actually speaks Pig Latin. And they also talk about how, in that same vein of, like, kind of post, the manga has this one character that's talks in a country accent, but because it's manga, you don't know that until way after this character's introduced. Like, you introduce this character and you expect her to just talk normally, because of course she would, and then 30 chapters or so later, they're like, actually, she speaks in a southern accent, and you're like, what? I had no idea. Of course not, because it's fucking manga. So then the anime, like, apparently the sub didn't realize that, and they have her speaking in, like, a British accent or something. Something like that. And then, but the dub caught it, and the dub heard about it, so they actually made that decision. But, like, what if the manga keeps going, and suddenly it's like, oh, actually, Senku has a different accent? And you're like, well, fuck. And that there's challenges to that. And it really speaks to, it's a really good specific case study of why there's so many challenges when adapting something like this, even on the side of the Japanese side, or in the side of the Crunchyroll subs. There's flaws to this. It's an art, not a science. Which is why it's a case-by-case basis and not something you should universally say is bad or universally good. And you have to actually take a look at it and listen to it, instead of take out this one cherry-picked, maybe probably important line and be like, this is bad. That means the entire dub's bad. It's just so stupid, and shows a lack of care and understanding of the material. And it's like, well, if you're willing to show that, what are your other opinions? Are you going to have the same ignorance too? That's what I'm talking about, right? Where it's like, what you say in your videos can reflect retroactively and ahead of a audience's impression of you. And it's hard to overcome that. Anyway, good video from Cartoon Cipher. Really neat. And I'm glad they made it. I wanted to mention this wonderful Jackisboy video. Why Berserk is always on hiatus. It was so insightful. Great thumbnail. You can really tell he has a passion for Berserk, and I really enjoyed it. Really good job. And here's another unknown sort of creator, or at least very low profile, that I had to be sent this video through Discord, and these people, like, I always think I'm good at finding fucking videos, and then people send me videos. I was like, I don't know this person. What the fuck? Please do. If you find video, I'm not a Redditor. Is that what they call them? Redditors? Reddit? I don't search through that, but if you find videos from whatever, and you're like, well, just throw it in that particular server you know about, or DM me or something. Tell me videos. Tell me you exist, and we'll see. I just want to have an understanding of everybody, But this guy Sodra put out every anime screenshot I took in 2019. He did this. They did this last year as well, and they started with an LGH clip, like Julian going to watch the history of whatever, but they subtitle it of like, yeah, I made this compilation and Pawan is with them, and he's like, am I gonna get a seizure watching this? And they're like, yeah, probably. They don't put a seizure warning in like the title, but like very tastefully like that, which I really liked. It shows me you also have good taste. But then yeah, it's 20,000 screenshots at 24 frames per second, 14-minute video of nothing but that. And you're thinking, well, that's creatively bankrupt. No, it isn't. First of all, how did you make this without dying? As I think about how I would make this video, and I'm like, oh, I just put all of them into Premiere, 20,000 photos, and then put them in one by one. You had to have some sort of program for this. I don't know what you used, and I would love to know, because this is so cool. I just thought it was a real neat thing as, you know, someone who can handle it. You know, if you can't handle the flashiness of like, 24 frames of completely non-related screenshots of anime. But what's great is you can slow this video down to 0.25 times speed, and it's still going at a fairly speedy pace. But enough that you can pause it, and you can pause it all 20,000 of these screenshots. There isn't a list of the kind of all the anime you watch here. Although there was a moment that right before you started watching Princess Tutu, you started watching Ochimachi Doremi, and then you didn't. I didn't see any more after that. What happened? You not want to watch any more Ochimachi Doremi? You like Precure? There's a lot of Precure in this. Oh my gosh. Maybe Aikatsu Stars. Maybe that's I'm sorry, I confused the two. And Symphogear. As well as, Winrai, a lot of, like, you could tell that they're a seasonal watcher. So you have, like, a lot of shows from the particular season, like, as the winter to spring to summer to fall, as that pans through, you can kind of see their trajectory. You can see their binge patterns of, like, how much they binge through Cardcaptor Sakura, or Aishiteruze Baby, I think is one of them. I remember seeing that. I think that one was one of them that was interesting. But it was cool because you could see you also could low-key sort of gauge. This isn't necessarily a measurement, but you could kind of gauge of like, oh, you liked this show more than this other show because you either saw it for a little bit and stopped as you didn't keep watching it, or maybe it would come back later or something, or you just notice how many you took in one episode or whatever. And you can gauge of like, oh, they like this show a lot. But it was really, really fun. And kind of a really creative, cool way to document all of these screen caps instead of having them forever saved. Because like, I would imagine that, I don't know how much file space that is, but I would imagine it's a fair deal. But I love creativity and unique stuff like this that shows a passion and some sort of joy in what you're doing. And I gotta reward that, and it's a new creator. I thought it was cool, so best video, really fucking dope. And last, gotta talk about the big one. This technically didn't air in this airing, but it was released at the buzzer. So I couldn't talk about it in my best of 2019 list. This aired December 31st. Of course it did. God damn it. Zeria's Miyazaki's Marxism. Oh, what a good title. The Politics of Anime's legendary director. Marxism was a mistake. Actual Miyazaki quote. It is true. At least it seems that with, it's in Miyazaki's Starting Point biography. At least the first, I think you cite both of them. I really okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. This is a great, massive video worth the hour and 20-minute investment, in my opinion. Going through each of Miyazaki's major creative works, including all 11 of his films, Future Boy Conan, and the Nausicaa manga, which I really especially appreciated because it's the first time that I've seen anyone, at least in a video format, really talk about this manga and why it might potentially be better than the anime. Because I'm one of those people. Nausicaa is in my top 3 favorite anime. It's literally my favorite anime film. And I owned the manga, and I read it, and I liked it a lot. It's just more I just saw it as more Nausicaa. And I kind of thought that the ending was very similar to the ending of the movie, which I still think it kind of is. But you go into a lot of and it's so key to your video, actually, because it represents the fall of his Marxism, because he has this mentality of Marxism, and to be quite honest, I'm not that versed in this, so I'm not going to try to fully understand. I think the whole thing is, I can't. Nope. I just tried and I can't. Sorry. But basically, he was a Marxist at one point, and then after writing Nausicaa, in the process of writing Nausicaa and the ending of that, and how that transpires, he loses his faith in the system, the idea of Marxism. Not that his early works outright endorses Marxism or anything like that, but it does sort of had little seeds of like, you can see why he sort of believes that this is the right path generally humanity should probably go. but he's flirting with it, and shows little cracks in his work here and there. But then it's in the Nausicaa manga that like completely shatters, and not in the anime, because she does talk about the film specifically earlier, and then understandably makes that connection. There's a very distinct linear, like deliberate severment. I'm sorry, I'm really bad with words right now. Yeah, so she was able to articulate it for almost every major work. I do think there was a little bit of stretches here and there, just generally less to talk about or more to talk about. And I did appreciate that she was transparent about that in some regard, particularly with Ponyo. She's just like, yeah, there isn't too much here to say that wasn't already said in his other works, or better said, or whatever. And I agree, Ponyo is mid. But as a fan of Miyazaki, I really enjoyed this video. It was very respectful of his works, even while, denouncing Marxism, which I believe you're a Marxist, Zeria? Or I believe it is, like, what you believe, we believe that X, Y, whatever. But, like, you didn't have it with any animosity despite that. It was very open, clear look, and not diving too deep into any of the actual text of Marxism or Karl Marx, or it wasn't so throat high in philosophy, which I think you've seen in your other works, and it's led to a degree of detachable, like, we're not quite on the same page in terms of it's harder to relate if you haven't read XYZ. But this had very little of that. It was, in fact, I think the only thing you really cite here is Miyazaki's Starting Point, which I think is a great source, and I wish you cited it more if possible, because every time you did, I thought it was super strong, and it really enforced the point that you were making even that much further. I agreed with pretty much everything you were making, for the most part, but those times where you were citing that was especially resonant, because it was right from the man himself. It wasn't like from some philosophy that's intertwined in so many other things. You kind of have to have a top-down perspective from seeing instead of a bottom-up. I saw one Twitter mutual who said that the video was good. Like, the end of your video was, it's good, but he's good, but has flaws. I didn't get that impression. Maybe that is the impression we're supposed to get, but I didn't get that. And, he took issue, whatever. But he was also saying that, you didn't cite everything of his work. In particular, this one comic from, it seemed like in the Nausicaa era, it looked like Nausicaa's manga, in the same texture at least. And it was like depicting war with like some animals in it. I'm sorry that the name escapes me right now, and I'm too lazy to look it up right now. It seemed like a pretty minor work in comparison, and I can understand why you didn't include everything he's ever done, like all these shorts that he did and the Ghibli short, like whatever. I get that, because it's like, the video is already so big, and you're already taking so much energy to go through everything. And it's like, I would like to do that for Osamu Dezaki and go episode by episode of all of these fucking shows. But you gotta have a finished video, But it could have been a variety of reasons. Maybe you didn't actually see that much in that particular work to be worth mentioning. Or you just kind of had to draw a line somewhere. So that's fair. I get that. Overall, yeah, kind of worth the investment, and worth talking about in the same breath with these other videos of the year for 2019. So it will definitely be in the consideration for best of 2020, in my opinion. I think it's already a very remarkable work. Just watch it now, everybody, before it gets taken down by the Studio Ghibli overlords, which it definitely will. Oh my gosh. But good job, everyone. Most of you. Good looking out. Here's to another good week. Sorry, there was so much fucking videos that came out this week, and I watched a good deal of them, and like I watched Corey Eden's video, again I watched yours video, and some other people's, and I just didn't have that much to say, or just not enough that I wanted, that I think was worth saying, or that was funny. But good looking out. Here's to making more content. Looking forward to everyone else's. Have a good week. Yo, peace.